Hello and welcome to a very special episode of MMO Weekly, presented as always by Chitty's Cheesesteaks. I'm your host, Sal Manzo, along with my co-host and MMO executive editor, Mike Mayer. And we're joined by a very special guest, Mets first-round pick this year, Colin Houck. Colin, thank you so much for taking some time for joining the show this week.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And before, obviously, we get into kind of the dive into everything, I was asking you a little bit off camera how things have been going the last few weeks, but I figured I'll ask you here too with the whirlwind, getting drafted now, getting everything underneath you. How's it been the last few weeks for you now here since you've been drafted by the Mets?
It's been really cool. Obviously now I'm down in Port St. Lucie. We're just getting acclimated, starting workouts, starting to meet everybody and get to know pro baseball. Creating a routine and getting into it. So it's really fun.
Awesome. And obviously, we have a few questions for you that we want to start off and, hearing how you're acclimated. That's great. Is there something that you're particularly looking forward to starting pro ball? Is there anything that stands out to you that like you're excited to do or get going, or any people you're excited to meet? I'm kind of curious there.
Nothing specifically. It's been a while since I've, played a game and,
Sure.
been on a diamond and competed. So I'm looking forward to getting back on the field for sure. I think that's one thing I could say I'm looking forward to.
Now, and kind of get into just the Mets taking you, take us through draft night for you? Um, did you know that the Mets were interested? Where were you? Who were you celebrating with? How did everything go down on that draft night?
Yeah, so it was, drafts are unexpected. Things are, things happen that are unexpected, unpredictable. So, apparently, with all the boards and stuff, I was projected to go, whatever, 10 to 20, whatever it was. I knew that, that could be a possibility or it could not. So I think I went into it with an open mind, and I wasn't sitting on one team or I wasn't sitting at one spot. So, obviously things didn't end up that way, the way the mocks were saying it was, but my agent called me and he was like, "Hey, and I think it's going to be the Mets." And then that's when I got the call. And so that was a really special moment for me and my family. And I'm so thankful and grateful to be with the Mets, and it's awesome. It's a dream come true.
That's really cool. And, obviously talking about your agent calling you saying that, you think it was going to be the Mets and you get the call there. Were there any other teams that maybe you thought that you had good workouts with or maybe good conversations with that you thought that might be taking you? Were you surprised that it was the Mets? I'm just kind of curious your thought process there.
Yeah, so I mean, I did a few workouts before the draft with a couple of different teams, and
Sure.
And I had conversations with most of them at the combine. And that's the thing, it's weird. The drafts are weird like that. Players don't really know much. Agents know pieces, and the teams
Sure.
know everything. So as a player, I didn't really know much. What was going on. Behind the scenes, obviously. So you could have felt that you were really close with this team, or they're
Right.
going to get you, and they don't. They end up going a different direction. So it's very unpredictable, and I'm just grateful I'm with the Mets. I'm blessed.
That's awesome. And real quick, just you talked about the combine. Can you talk about being a part of that and what that was like? Obviously, it's a new event. Major League Baseball did a great job, I thought, covering it on the network, getting to see you guys work out and, there with some of the best former big leaguers around, getting an interview and things like that. Can you talk about that experience and what it was like?
Yeah, it was really fun. Obviously being around some of the best ball players in the draft was awesome. I did the interviews and the medical there. I didn't do the on field stuff, but I met with a lot of the teams there and kind of got the process of what the Mets ended up doing with me.
Sure.
I got that preview at the combine, so a lot of different experiences. It was really fun though. It was a really fun week.
And then once you signed, you got to go to Citi Field, and I'm sure you got to see New York a little bit. What are your early thoughts?
It was awesome. It was the stadium, the atmosphere. It was awesome. That was actually my first time at Citi Field, and I got to meet some of the guys. I got to meet Francisco, Jeff McNeil, um, Brett Brett Beatty. A
Hmm.
couple of those guys. It was really 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 cool to be just to watch them do what they do and pick their brains about some stuff. But yeah, it was really fun.
Now, more importantly, did you get to try some New York pizza?
Yes, yes, I did get a New York slice while I was there. It was awesome. It was really good.
Very cool. Now I do have to ask. Obviously, you're a Georgia kid, right? You grew up there. Um, was there any Braves fandom there? It's okay if there was. And then the second part to that, if there was, we'll give you the chance now to disown it, and you're full Mets fan. We'll let you get the clean slate.
Yeah, I've been asked this question a few times. Now I won't. I'm not gonna lie. Growing up in Georgia and
Sure.
right outside of Atlanta, it's kind of hard not to be a Braves fan. But as of right now, that is not the case. Ever since the draft happened, it's all Mets here. So
Love it. Love it.
So, growing up a Braves fan, who are kind of the players you look up to playing, or players that you kind of think your playing style mirrors?
I've watched a lot of Austin Riley the past couple of years. I think we have a lot of similar movements in our swing. Obviously, Dansby Swanson was one of them. He was a baller. He played really hard. Um, and then, not that I have any similarities with him, other than that we went to the same high school, which was Matt Olson. I've hit with him a few times in the off season, so that was pretty cool. But yeah,
That's awesome. We'll edit in David Wright and Pete Alonso over that for everyone that's listening. That's all right. That's great. Those are some great guys to follow after. I don't blame you. Braves have been good for a long time, but I think you're a young group here. You're going to change the trend for the Mets, so I'm excited for that.
that's right.
But I do want to switch gears. Obviously, Mets drafted you out of high school. You're a two-sport athlete there, which I think is really cool. Can you talk like what it was like? Making the decision to focus full time on baseball as opposed to football, like when that happened, when you made kind of that decision to focus on baseball, kind of full time.
So it was last summer, at the summer after my junior year in high school. That was kind of when the clock was ticking with the recruiting process for football. That's kind of when people
Sure.
like to commit. They commit before their senior year. Um, so I was dealing with that on top of playing summer ball and doing a lot of the events that kind of get you on the map to be
Right.
a possible draft pick, like East Coast Pro and Area Code, different events like that. Um, and so it was really it was before those events started happening that I kind of knew. I was like, okay, I kind of want to pick one. This is when I'm going to make the decision. And I knew baseball was more natural to me. I played it longer. I think I had a brighter future in baseball. So, and that's kind of what led into the decision. And another thing is the logistics of doing both in college.
Sure.
You know, Especially at the quarterback position. A lot of coaches are just kind of telling you what you want to hear. You're like, hey, yeah, you can definitely do both. Um, and then you start baseball in the spring at the college, um, and then spring football starts. And if you're supposed to be the quarterback, they're gonna want you in spring football.
Right.
And so that's people do it and people can do it. It's just that my what I wanted to do is I wanted to play baseball more than I wanted to play football in the spring.
Sure.
And so that's logistically I knew that was going to be an issue or a conflict rather. And I wanted to do baseball, and that's what led me to the decision. So
So, how do you think playing football at such a high level? How do you think that's going to help you with your baseball career? How do you think some of those talent skills will carry over and help you?
I think leadership's a big part of it. Being a quarterback, I had to learn to lead the offense and be loud and be the guy that people look towards. You start every play with the ball, and if something goes wrong, usually you blame the quarterback. So that's something I had to deal with, and that's something I think will benefit me in the long run. I think toughness is another one, just physical toughness. You get banged up a few times, so um, I think that's something I benefit from too.
Awesome. And kind of with that, you set school records in football and baseball. So what was, you touched on a little bit, but what was it like being recruited by all these top schools, to play two sports? Obviously didn't work that way, but I imagine, it's got to feel pretty cool when, top schools in the country, not only coming for baseball, but also football there.
Yeah, it was really fun. Kind of that whole process. It started when I was a freshman. I got my first offer. It was Florida State as a freshman. And then that was really when I kind of thought in my mind, like, hey, I could do that. I could do both. That was the goal after that point. Um, but it's funny. Football recruitment is a lot different than baseball recruitment, and
Right.
it's more, hey, we're gonna offer you. It's less. We're gonna get to know you, and then we're gonna offer you.
Right.
So, there's different camps that you got to do. There's um, different things you got to do, like 7-on-7s and stuff like that. You got to make the film, do highlight reels and stuff like that. So it's a lot different than a baseball where you meet a baseball coach and you get to know him. You do phone calls, you talk to him. But yeah, the whole process was kept me pretty busy. It was very it took a lot out of you, but
Sure.
it was very fun when it unfolded.
Well, kind of, I guess, to that, you talked about how your freshman season, you got your first offer from Florida State there. But from things that I was reading, you struggled a bit in your freshman season in baseball. So I
Yeah.
was kind of wondering how you took those struggles. And obviously, it's a very young age, your freshman year. But how did you take those struggles and then turn them into a positive and obviously turn it into not only that, but making yourself into a first round pick in the MLB?
Yeah. Yeah, my freshman year wasn't as good as I would have wanted it to be, obviously, but you learn a lot when you're young and you're kind of thrown into varsity as a freshman,
Sure.
especially at my school, at Parkview. Is a very it's a historic program of being very good,
Right.
and not many young players make varsity as freshmen. I was the first I think in a couple of years that made freshman made varsity as a freshman, and it kind of kicked me in the tail. I had to get used to working all the time, and especially playing against people that were 3-4 years older than me.
Right.
So obviously that was something I had to tackle, and the mental aspect of failing a lot as a freshman was another thing. That season got cut short because of COVID, which
Sure.
does it stings a little bit, because I think as it progressed I probably would have gotten a little bit better than how I ended. But I learned a lot from that season, and I think I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that season. So
Yeah, and you mentioned going to prestigious school like Parkview, and you already mentioned Matt Olson, but Jeff Keppinger and uh, Jeff Francoeur, two former Mets, also went to the school. Have you had a chance to meet those guys or pick their brains at all?
I met Jeff Francoeur. They're both Jeff. I just forgot. Yeah, I met Francoeur a couple times. We did there's an all-star. I think the Braves 400 Club. I made the all-star team for that, and I met him there. He did a speech there, and it was really cool to meet him. We didn't get a chance to talk a lot, but just meeting him, knowing what he did at Parkview, kind of a legend where we are, was really cool to meet him. So
That's really cool. Jeff was an underrated Met for his few years here. Had a cannon of an arm. I'll always never forget that,
yeah,
even on the Braves. But just kind of with what you're talking about here, hearing you speak, you sound so polished for someone that's just 18 years old, just graduating high school, right? But how much do you think? You're talking about the recruiting process that you did with two sports, playing, in the high level travel circuits, like you're talking about, the different showcases, playing varsity since you're a freshman, all these different pressure situations that you've been in such a young age. And do you think that that's helped you, now at the pro level, just being able to, not just handle the media, but just kind of the day-to-day grind now of being a pro baseball player and kind of the expectations that come with it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think all the stuff that I've been through has definitely molded me to be who I am today. Um, it gets tough, sometimes you have to sacrifice things, whether that's time, doing things you like to do, or maybe sleep in some cases. Where
Sure.
I definitely sacrifice sleep when I would come home late from practice and have to do homework. That's some of the stuff I had to do, but that's stuff I was willing to do to know that would get me to where I want to be. And so I think that's a big part of getting to work and grinding it out. Um, but yeah, I mean that stuff kind of makes you so.
And speaking of getting to work, so I mean, you said you're in Port St. Lucie, so you'll hopefully get into some games soon. Do you have anything particular that like you want to work on this first little part of your pro career, or any goals you have for this first little stretch?
I mean, I wouldn't say specific goals. I mean, I want to hit well. I want to field well. I think that's kind of a given. But I mean, the acclimation to the next level pitching, even at Port St. Lucie, is way better than what I've been hitting against recently. So um, getting used to that, getting used to fielding that type of velo off the bat, stuff like that is going to make me better. And so I'm right now that's what I'm focusing on, is getting used to this new level of baseball and kind of creating my routine, getting used to it and sticking with it. So
And how is, I mean, being from Georgia, you're not too far. How nice it to start your career not too far from where you grew up?
yeah, it's pretty nice. My dad and I drove down. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and he left a couple of days. He flew back, so I have my car, which is very nice. But yeah, it's kind of nice to be closer. I mean, it was either Florida or Arizona, depending on which team you went to. So Florida is definitely closer. So it's nice though. I like it.
That's cool. And for a dad, some parents, my parents dropped me off at college at the dorms. Your dad gets to drop you off at professional baseball. I can't imagine what that feeling's like. That's so cool.
That's right.
I do want to find out though. Do you have any like pregame superstitions? Is there a routine? Do you pregame meal that you eat? Is there anything like that you follow? I've always curious, guys, that you're such a high level. Some guys are very superstitious, some guys not so much. So I'm curious where you fall there.
So in high school it was a little different. We only got, one of two meals before the game,
Sure.
and they were usually all the same thing, which was, I think it was either Subway or Chick-fil-A. Um, but as far as pregame superstitions, I don't have a lot. I don't know. I mean, I like to do a few things that kind of just calms my nerves, listen to music. Uh,
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty normal. I wouldn't say it's even a superstition. It's just kind of my routine on a game day. Um, and just, I mean, I just like to be around my teammates, and get my mind off of the game and the pressures that come with it. Just kind of relax before the game. I'm not really a superstitious guy, but that's what I do.
Show up and rake. I like that. That's the way to be.
And speaking of pregame stuff, is there, so at the high school level and at all the like all-star stuff you do, is there any pregame stuff you do on like the pitchers you're going to face, or like the starting pitchers, relievers, any different type of stats and different analytics that you guys look at?
So far we haven't started playing yet, down here. But obviously high school is a little different. We would just kind of look up the pitcher, look up what kind of pitches he has, when he likes to throw them, that kind of thing. Different mannerisms on the mound. For base running, is he his time to the plate is a big one. Stuff like that is things I like to look at. If my When I watch pitchers, it's more in the game, in the dugout. Which pitches does he have? Which pitches does he not have? That particular day. stuff like that, just to kind of give you any sort of advantage you can get. That's kind of what I like to do.
Awesome. And the last thing I have for you, just one thing, or a couple of things that you'd like Met fans to know about you, that they can expect watching you play now here, that you're part of the system.
I'm a hard worker. I hate to lose more than I like to win. And I like to play as hard as I can. So that's what you'll get from me. And I'm very determined, and I'm looking forward to this whole process and the grind. So
Awesome.
That's awesome. Thanks for jumping on with us, Colin.
of course, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. This was awesome. And everyone, check out everything next week in the latest episode. We'll have some trade deadline stuff for you. Hopefully the Mets won't be selling too much, but we'll see. But until now and then, guys, let's go Mets.